Jacob.
I'm Yuri.
We're going for a drive.
'21 Cadillac Escalade.
Sport Platinum without launch control.
It's okay.
It's pretty good.
Horsepower.
If you're not subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing because it's actually really easy to do.
Look how easy this is. I click subscribe, and then I click the bell, I click all, and then I give it a thumbs up.
That's it.
Torque.
420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque from a 6.2 liter V8.
So this is the totally redesigned Cadillac Escalade.
Yes, all new from the ground up.
And we already did a virtual review on this, but let's start this one off with the looks.
Yeah, so it looks really good. Cadillac has addressed all of my issues from the previous actual Cadillac review, and it looks fantastic. Well, number one for me was actually ride quality because it didn't have air suspension, so now we do have air suspension, and that adds to the looks because you can drop it into entry-exit mode, so it looks really good from the side now.
But you can't raise it as high as you can the AT4 Yukon because this doesn't have a 4-low mode.
Exactly.
Okay, front end. The grille is all blacked out, so we've got the sport version here.
Yes, Sport Platinum gets a different grille, and there's like a bunch of different grills in the Escalade lineup now.
Nice big solid mesh grille. We've got the logo right in the middle. There's no radars that stick out looking odd. We've got really cool DRL headlights that kind of come up at the bottom of the side, but they don't connect up at the top even when the headlights are fully on.
Yeah, there's one little extra piece in the headlight. It would have been nice if that illuminated.
And then there's this striking red color.
Yeah, it's called infrared tint coat, and whoever spec'd out this vehicle did a fantastic job because I am sick of seeing these in black or white.
Yeah, and I'm kind of sick of the chrome grills. I think this grill looks much better than the chrome.
Yeah, for sure. This overall spec looks amazing.
And the front end is gigantic. Like, it is huge. It sticks up so high. And people might be worried, be like, if I'm driving and something comes in front, maybe I won't be able to see it. But our whole gauge cluster is actually a screen that shows the front, so we'll talk about that more later, but they have a solution.
Yeah, there's a lot of tech in this car that we're gonna get to.
So now moving on to the side. Good side profile?
Very good side profile, like pretty aggressive, and like I said, with that air suspension lowered, looks really good, and we do have like a little bit of a spoiler that just adds to it at the back.
I think this is the top version when you look at this compared to the Tahoe and the Yukon.
Yeah, for sure. And we do have a nice Cadillac logo in the C-pillar, which adds to the luxuriousness of this vehicle.
And we even have a little black trim at the bottom that's kind of hard to see in this color, but like the body lines and everything, the way the paint reflects, I think it's very, very good, especially from the side view. And then what about these wheels?
They're all black and they look pretty good. They are 22s.
Not a fan of black wheels, but they match the grille, so whatever.
Yeah, blackout package basically.
And then moving on to the back end, we've got traditional Cadillac taillights that go all the way up and down. They're pretty cool. They're very 3D, and we've even got a little Cadillac logo in there.
Yeah, the taillights look really good, and they do this kind of little dance now, which is really fancy.
Yeah, when you walk up to it, when you've got the key in your pocket, and then it'll also illuminate the little kick to open logo at the very bottom on the right.
Which is off center, and I complained about that in the previous gen. I'm kind of over complaining about it, but it does work for kick to open.
And there's a button to make just the rear glass open, and then you can also open the trunk with the Cadillac button.
Yeah, I didn't realize you had to like smash the Cadillac logo. Well, you don't have to smash it, but you can.
You can kick it with the kicking a bottle challenge.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Old memes never die. We're gonna do the ice bucket challenge next video.
Yeah.
And then the Harlem Shake.
That's right, yeah. And then we got some 2020 real exhaust tips back there, which is to be expected in 2021 now.
Does it sound good?
That sounds all right. Let's take a listen to the outside.
And then what's up with that 600 badge? Do we have a 600 cubic inch engine?
Of course we don't, because that is the Newton meters of torque rounded up or down to the next like nearest number. So it has 623 Newton meters of torque. So it's 600.
And that makes sense because they're going to be converting everything to electric in the future. And I guess that's a better way to classify the speed of the car with a badge when electric takes over.
Yeah, because they're going to go with the more accurate measurement, which is Newton meters of torque, and it's more internationally recognized than pound-feet of torque. But for now, it's definitely weird.
I saw a meme about Americans saying, oh, I'm 7 hamburgers and 2 chicken wings tall.
So overall, looks-wise, I think they did an amazing job of updating this, and it looks very, very good. Very classy still, though.
It definitely looks better than every other Cadillac SUV that has been updated, which makes sense because this is like their halo car.
Yeah, and it's still like very imposing looking. Like I love how this looks.
10 out of 10 design.
So now let's talk about the actual driving experience with the magnetic ride control and the air suspension. I think this does ride slightly better than the Tahoe and the Yukon, which I already found to be extremely comfortable.
Yeah, and I can't really tell the difference between this and those cars. I guess it's like a threshold of similar handling and comfort that doesn't really register to me.
Yeah, and I think it makes that little bit of a difference that you can tell that this is a Cadillac and they spent more time tuning it for more comfort. And so handling wise, let's send it into cliche corner. I mean, it feels like it's a big ass Escalade because that's exactly what it is, but it does rip pretty hard, and you can turn off traction, which you pretty much have to because it bogs down the car really, really hard.
Yeah, like you floor it and like nothing happens. And the traction is located in the infotainment, in vehicle information. Then you swipe over a whole bunch of times, and that's where it is. No more hard buttons.
Yeah, and then turning off stability, it'll actually re-turn it on for you while you're driving. So this is not a sendable vehicle, I would say. But if you were to rip it, 420 horsepower, feels pretty decent, but it doesn't feel as good as the Silverado 1500 because, I mean, we got a lot more body on here.
Yeah, and then I feel like if you're driving the competitor from Germany, it would be much, much, much faster. But there is no like SS version of the Cadillac or something like that.
Yeah, no.
Well, I guess it's the, what's the Cadillac's thing? It's
V.
It'd be V Sport or whatever.
Yeah.
SS. Why did I go to SS?
I don't know.
Z20 SS.
And just like the Tahoe and the Yukon, this is still body on frame, but we do have an independent rear suspension, exactly like those ones as well.
So this is the first Escalade with independent rear suspension?
Yes, it is.
Heck yeah, Escalade.
But overall handling, like steering feel and all that kind of stuff, it does feel better than its own competitors, which is the Yukon and the Tahoe. So they did a good job of updating this and making it different from both of those. And we've got a 10-speed auto, and it works very well, just like it does in every other car that basically has this 10-speed auto. But we do have paddle shifters, but they don't actually do anything unless you put it into L, and then they're more like gear limiters because this is a truck, basically.
Yeah, and it makes sense because like where else are you gonna put the shifter and everything kind of...
It's just funny because they don't actually do anything if you're in drive. Like
yeah,
nothing.
but like what are they gonna do? Like attach it to this? Like they probably don't have this shifter set up to work without paddles.
Yeah.
It's usually set up to a column shifter, which this doesn't have. So that was the only way that they could do the workaround.
That's why it's funny.
So L is just manual mode.
But it's a gear limiter because now it won't upshift, right? It's a gear limiter, like
it really won't upshift at all?
Because it's a gear limiter. It's not paddles. Like,
but I feel like those comms you could upshift, couldn't you?
Depends on the car. This works like Lexus does. It's a gear limiter. And we do have a couple drive modes: Tour, Sport, Off-Road, and Tow Haul. So you do press the physical button and then it pops up in your main OLED display, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I definitely just kept it in Tour because it's not really a sporty car and I don't want to waste gas by having the RPMs too high.
Yeah, I definitely put it into Sport only for Cliche Corner and just Tour the rest of the time. And then we also do have a couple modes for the air suspension, so you can raise it and drop it from these physical buttons. We do actually have terrain mode, which you can only do in 4 high, so we have 2 high and 4 high. We don't have 4 low, as you said earlier.
And then if we're driving it on the highway, we do have a lane keep mode, but it's not Super Cruise. But this one is radar cruise. It works pretty well, and it'll kind of pull you out of the lanes slightly.
Yeah, so we actually haven't driven a Cadillac with Super Cruise yet, and I don't think that's Cadillac's fault for giving us those cars without it. I think it's Cadillac's fault for not making that a default option like all of its competition has by this point.
Like how pretty much every Hyundai has highway driving assist and every BMW has a good lane keep assist too.
Yeah, and Cadillac did offer to get us one with Super Cruise, but it would have been a month later. We'd rather just get the video out earlier, so
yeah,
thanks Cadillac for trying.
That's YouTube life. But then if you look at a BMW, you're not going to get a non-good cruise control cruise option, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like the only radar cruise you get is the good radar cruise.
Yes, and we did mention there was a ton of tech in here. There's so many different screens. They work all right, so let's get to how they all work with you behind the wheel.
It's going to be a long one. That's what she said.
Floor it.
Okay, that's some good initial kick. I think this will do well as a bad guy car in future movies.
Yeah, 100%.
We gotta get out of here. Every time someone hits the brakes.
Yeah, and then the traction control kicks in and then it bogs down.
Yeah. It's gonna be a nightmare to film.
Yes, it will. It will actually be.
Stunt drivers are gonna have to be computer engineers.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of computer engineers, if we look at this overall interior, the main thing is we've got this gauge cluster that if we click here on the left, it is an AR camera, so it'll show what's in front of us, which seems completely crazy until you realize that this hood is like 5 feet tall, and if little kids run in front, this is actually good to help see them.
It almost feels like I'm on an airplane and I can actually click the button to see what the airplane sees.
Which actually came in handy today when I drove through a school zone and a bunch of little kids were running around.
And then with that, if you use the built-in navigation, not Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, which this does also have wireless versions, it will actually throw up augmented reality directions just like a Mercedes, but it's not quite at Mercedes level.
Yeah, the augmentation isn't as stitched to the actual surrounding world, but it's a good attempt. It's not something I would have expected from Cadillac.
And it's really nice to have a very high refresh, very clear camera that's in your center gauge.
Yeah, so I think this is shooting 30 or 60 frames a second, and I feel like the shutter speed isn't like super high GoPro, because when stuff gets to the edge, it actually has some motion blur, which is nice. But then the big problem is when you compare that to the camera in the infotainment for the reverse and 360 camera and everything like that, that's where there's a huge disconnect.
A huge disconnect, because everything is super laggy in the right gauge, which is where you have your 360 camera, which is really cool to have because you have a mode that you can actually turn around the vehicle, but it's so slow to turn around the car.
Okay, so let's start with, if we're looking forward on both screens, the frame rate is way less. It's like 8 frames or 12 frames a second on the regular 360 camera screens, which totally sucks, and you can see that there's a lag.
And you can also see that when you just have it in reverse. So let's just say you're using their backup camera, it's very laggy.
But you do get to see all the front wheels and stuff. You get a lot of the cool camera angles. But unlike the Yukon and the Tahoe, this still has the 360 mode where it looks around, and they did such a bad job of making this thing look real. It looks like something out of Grand Theft Auto 4, which I think we covered in our virtual review. And the way it moves, so slow and so choppy, if they're trying to compete with like the X7 or like the Audi or anything, or even the new Kia.
Exactly.
And then when you're rolling, the wheels don't even move at the same speed that the car is traveling across the ground. That's how weird it looks.
It's shockingly bad compared to how good the main screen is.
And then if you also look at this graphic of the Cadillac compared to the graphic they use for the augmented reality, it's like they were designed in completely different software where like nobody was talking to anyone. They're like, I don't know, whatever, who's gonna notice?
So
we're gonna notice.
So that's when you change it into gauge mode, because we're in AR camera, and there's also map mode, and there's also night vision.
And night vision may confuse some people. They're like, why do you want night vision? A lot of people live where there's like deer and stuff crossing, and seeing animals and things like that while you're driving is probably really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And then having that left screen to actually change between all of that stuff, including your head-up display, is amazing. That's probably the best thing they did in this entire interior.
Yeah, it's a really good way to have a lot of functionality that's easy to use without taking up a whole bunch more room for hard buttons, because this already does have a ton of hard buttons.
And we've always complimented GM on the way that they have their head-up display adjustments, because it's always easy to find hard buttons, and they just moved it into a screen, which still works.
But it does kind of suck that the gauge screen doesn't seem to be any more customizable than this.
Yeah, it's definitely not customizable.
Like the Lincoln had a lot of cool different modes and stuff. So like I think this wins with the gimmicky screen, but that wins with nicer looks. And here's what I think is going to happen next with this gimmicky AR screen.
But before you get to that, Lincoln also had a lot of lag in the main screen, which was very annoying.
Okay, here's a challenge to anyone who films rap videos with Escalade still. The first person to film someone rapping in front of the car and then move down to the screen showing them rapping and then back out, I think they're going to win the Escalade AR game.
Yo, DaBaby, do it.
Is Nelly still doing music videos?
I don't think so, man.
Country Grammar too?
Nah, man. It's all about DaBaby, Lil Baby. Yo, everyone raps about Hellcats now, like SRTs.
Yeah, because it's what's it
and
called?
Cullinans.
Because takeovers and stuff.
Well, I don't know if that's why, but
It's got to be. That's
Hellcats are just so sick.
I think it's because of takeovers. So moving on to the infotainment part of the screen, it's a really cool shape, and all of it is functional in the Cadillac infotainment, but when you put Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, then it's not full widescreen because it wouldn't make sense, which is fine.
Yeah, just because of the shape, so it couldn't exactly fit it in there.
And then the rest of the graphics on this infotainment screen are very nice. They're not colored like old GM was, so it's harder to like pick out what you need to click, but they do look better and everything is really smooth.
Yeah, I have no issues with these icons because they're so large.
And if we go to our car information screen, we've got these other cool big screens that you can swipe through. Everything looks very good, but there's some functionality issues. So if I go to Sirius XM satellite radio, if I go to the Sirius XM part and I want to go through my favorites, if I click up and down over here on the steering wheel, it'll literally cycle through all channels.
Does it rewind satellite radio?
It does rewind satellite radios, which is nice, but if I actually want to go through my favorites, I need to click here, and then I need to scroll up to this hidden favorites thing, and then I can use this to go through my favorites. But then once I'm doing that, the rewinding controls are gone. They're only visible in the Sirius XM thing.
That's very specific.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a problem with the car. But one of the cool things is that this has about 1,000 Sirius XM satellite radio stations, and it looks like a lot of them they take from online, I guess from the internet from the car. which is a first. And then I got to experience some new radio stations I like 70s, 80s pop, and 80s, 90s pop that's only available online. But then again, there is no tuning knob for the Sirius XM radio, so if I got to go down to channel, and then I got to click, and then I got to scroll through the 1,000 channels to find the one I want. But it does scroll like really quickly.
And that's the thing that I didn't like at first, because when that menu kind of popped up and changed, it was a little bit laggy, but you're able to scroll through a lot more channels this way, so I get why they did
And
it.
then like every sports team has a thing, like
That's pretty crazy.
I'm not that into sports, so I'm not going to use those.
Yeah. So moving on to the rest of this interior, it's a very premium quality to the touch and to the look, I would say.
Yeah, except I don't like this material right here around the shifter. It looks kind of just like plain hard plastic. I wish it was some cool stainless steel or even piano black, because I don't mind piano black.
Yeah, you don't, but I'm glad they went with this matte, but I agree, if it was like an aluminum kind of thing, or even
darker black.
Something with texture would be really nice.
And then we've got a really cool texture up on the dashboard. That looks really nice. Do you like this wood coloring?
I don't personally like it, but I think people might.
Yeah, it looks kind of old people wood.
Exactly.
But I thought this was like a car for younger people, but maybe not.
If this was like a darker wood, or even like a matte, dark ash wood from Mercedes. Yeah.
And what's really cool is you can control events with your hands. And I know that doesn't seem that crazy, but
no, it does.
After getting out of a Taycan, which was my nightmare, these vents are wicked.
Exactly.
And this does have the regular Cadillac shifter and the regular Cadillac rotary wheel and command center, which doesn't look as high-end as a BMW or a Mercedes rotary wheel would.
Yeah, function-wise, it's fine, but looks-wise, it's definitely not there.
There's no diamonds or anything on here.
I know, come on.
What were we in recently that had like a really cool one? I think
the GV80.
The GV80, yeah. Come on.
Anyways, we do have a wireless charger, which is also really nice because we do have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And then we also have a cup holder. Yuri, does it fit a small cup?
I don't know. I got a medium McDonald's today because I'm not sponsored by any coffee companies. This is what I felt like. And I don't think it'll fit a small Timmy's.
I think it might, but we're not going to find that out.
And then we got this nice big wooden panel that you can close everything with that you're never going to have closed, because who drives with that closed?
And then we also have this, which was a friggin' hidden fridge, which is cool, which is an option, so you don't have to get a fridge anyways, so.
Well, I can't turn it on.
Yeah, well.
And we have USB and USB-C, a nice slow transition into the future.
And then as another slow transition into the future, what about our rear entertainment screens?
Okay, so I've been complaining about this in the Tahoe video, the Yukon video. We complained about this in the initial Cadillac virtual review.
We're going to complain about it again.
Because this is the actual one.
Finally.
There's bezels on these screens, which there weren't on the Spike Lee commercial of the Escalade, and this is that Escalade finally.
So we can 1,000% verify that there are bezels.
Yes, and I'm very disappointed, not in Spike Lee, because I'm sure he didn't have any creative control over the commercial, even though he's the director. But like, whoever did that at Cadillac, like, you can't just do that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that in real life.
Come on.
Anyways, we do have Mirrorcast back there, so if you have an Android phone, you can mirror it.
Okay.
And then we also have HDMI ports, and that's about it.
Mirrorcast, are you going to be able to use that after tomorrow?
Well, yeah, because my iPhone's going to take about a week to get here.
Oh, so you're getting it?
Yeah, I mean, there might already be videos out with my new iPhone. 12 Pro Max, gold, 256 GBs.
How good is Mirrorcast with the iPhone?
Terrible.
I know.
0 out of 10.
Okay, and then we got headphones that we can listen to that with, and I think everything in this car is AKG.
Yes, industry first AKG sound system, and it is actually very, very good. There's 36 speakers in this car, which I think they just told some guy to fit 36 speakers into this car.
Yeah, I don't think it's the best, but I think it definitely has really good surround sound. I would still prefer having the Gothenburg system stuff from the Volvos.
And then we also have this kind of cabin talk-esque feature where the driver and passenger can speak to the people in the third row with ease, and the people in the third row can actually speak back to the driver and passenger, which is really nice to have.
This is the worst Uber driver I've ever had. Don't let him know, though.
Say it again.
This is the worst Uber driver I've ever had. Don't let him know, though.
And it doesn't sound weird or anything, and you can turn off the back mic, so it's like they can hear what you're saying, but you can't hear what they're saying.
It's cool to have both ways.
And then the last bit of crazy tech, if looking at this screen isn't enough while driving, you can also look at this screen for your rear view, which is actually kind of good, because when you don't have it on, there's a lot of headrests and stuff blocking everything.
Yeah, and then you can also press the camera button in your infotainment, so you can have 3 cameras and screens going on at once. And talking about seat comfort in this car, in every row it's exceptionally comfortable. In the front we do have massages, not in the back, and in the third row I am totally fine back there.
Okay, so these massages, you click the little buttons down here, and when you do that, it shows up on your infotainment screen, but it takes so long to get in. Like there's a bunch of lag there, but then the animation is smooth.
Yeah, it's weird lag.
And the massage is really good. I think one of the better massages from car companies.
And you can even hear all the air bladders and stuff in the seat going.
And then you can control all the lumbar and the bolstering, everything through there, but it is a little bit confusing because like you're using like a D-pad there, but I'm sure you can just like click and make it all work too.
And then we also have ambient lighting in here, which isn't the best.
Yeah, it's very like low commitment. They're like, oh, we got to put in a few lines and like call it a day. Like nothing near as cool as BMW or Mercedes or even Audi or Genesis GV80.
Yeah.
And then speaking of the GV80, I hated the front seat. Wow, that's sick. It's all crooked shit.
Yeah.
And then speaking of the GV80, I really didn't like those seats. Those are a total deal breaker. These are the complete opposite of those seats.
And these seats are heated and cooled, and we do have very nice climate controls up here. And the way that you press some of these buttons, the animations for the temperatures are awesome.
Yeah, taking that right out of the GSF.
Yeah, well, any Lexus, I guess. And getting in and out of this car is fantastic because we do have the automatic running boards, and then we also have soft closed doors.
Okay, what if we folded down all the seats from the very back and we wanted to put some boxes in here?
Box test!
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 are new box test member Kira and Anika. Get your own box at patreon.com/TheStraightPipes. Very good. I think up there with the Expedition.
For sure. And visors?
Come on. 3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah, great job. And if you buy one of these, you probably want to tow all your jet skis with it. 7,500 pounds.
Of jet skis.
Yes, and maybe snowmobiles. We're getting into that season, ATVs.
And like any of the other luxury cars in this segment, it does have all your automatic parking and stuff. But you can't get out and park it like you can a GV80.
Yeah, you can't use the key fob to park this.
And then the X7 will have some features where it'll like automatically back out like 50 meters. So it has some good stuff, but not like all the crazy stuff. And then these headrests do have speakers in them, but it's like a pretty hard material. It would kind of worry me like if you did hit your head and like hit it on an angle, you know what I mean?
I don't think I know what you mean.
Look, hit your head on an angle.
It's definitely hard.
Say you were sleeping in the front seat and then like something happened and you hit your head on the side. Like
I would hope you're sleeping in the passenger seat, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, people do pass out while in the front seat, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's it with the all-new Escalade.
Let's get to the price.
This Sport Platinum starts at $117,798
Canadian.
and it's optioned out to $128,663.
That's definitely too much money for a Cadillac Escalade.
I wouldn't say it's too much. It's up there with everything else that it competes with.
Yeah, I guess so. It does have this cool screen that no one else has. It's just like...
It's a lot of money, but everything else is also a lot of money, like a Lincoln Navigator, which is its closest competitor.
Yeah, well, this is definitely way more impressive than a lot of that stuff. Like, if you show people this screen, they're going to be so stoked.
Exactly. They'll be blown away by that.
But then there's like some interior stuff that like really doesn't impress me as much as the competition.
Yeah, there are certain parts of the Navigator interior that do look better than this one.
And then X7 and GLS, I think this is more impressive because of the screen, but then if you take the screen away and like look at everything else on those other two, they're more impressive.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then you get like better features on the X7, like that dash cam recorder, and I think the lane keep and everything is a lot better. I'm not sure how much more this would cost with Super Cruise too.
Yeah.
Which I think is subscription service.
I believe so.
Which probably isn't going to end well. Ask the guys at Apple CarPlay for sale at BMW.
Yeah, BMW. Well, they're also trying to like charge for like heated seats and stuff.
Yeah.
Like BMW's going next level subscriptions.
Start buying your old cars and storing them forever.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think of the new Cadillac Escalade.
I think they improved everything that they needed to, so click on our old Cadillac Escalade review because I tore that thing apart.
Is the X7 better? Is the GLS better?
Watch some of those. Maybe there's another one
How
here.
about the GV80 even?
I don't know if that's out yet.